Tax General, Mr.
The Inspector General of South Dakota. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Tax. Mr. Speaker. Our tax code. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. Our tax code. Tax.
South Dakota. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Gentleman.
South Dakota and South Dakota. Mr. Speaker, the Inspector General, tax. Well, Mr. Speaker.
South. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Dakota. Inspector General, tax.
Mr. Speaker. Tax.
South Dakota. Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Speaker.
South Dakota. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, tax.
The tax code.
South. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, South Dakota. Mr. Speaker, tax. Inspector General. Mr. Speaker, the Inspector General of South Dakota.
Speaker.
South. Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Speaker, South Dakota. Mr. Speaker, tax inspector general, tax. Mr. Speaker, South Dakota.
Mr. Speaker, our tax code. Mr. Speaker, the tax code. The tax code. Tax. Mr. Speaker.
South Dakota. Mr. Speaker. The Inspector General. 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 The Inspector. The Mr. Speaker. The Inspector General. Mr. Speaker.